Welcome to the Lilac City Smash podcast. I'm your host, Year Too Late, and today we just have Jack with us today.
Yep.
And today's topic, how do we ice? What is icing? How do you beat icing? Do you bring a lighter to the tournament? Do you bring hot hands? We don't really know. That's what we're here to talk about today. But before we get into any of that, we have some fan mail to talk about.
Fan mail.
So let's bring it. Hell yeah, we got fan
That's
mail.
awesome.
We got fan mail already.
This one's from the IRS. Apparently, we're being audited.
Yes, exactly.
They're our biggest fans.
If by IRS you mean something swing, because the S stands for swing, and he's part of the.
Oh, okay.
He's part of it. All right.
We got to think of the first two letters.
All right. So Swing comments on our last video. Give me more of Jack's voice. He needs to talk more. Also, Young Link with Fierce Deity as an Arsene-like mechanic would be sick AF. I've never read a comment that both said, I listened to the podcast and I also didn't listen to the podcast. Like, I got both at the exact same time. Like, he listened enough to hear about Fierce Deity Link, but didn't hear enough to where I said I was flying solo for most of it.
Interesting. Yeah, well, no, I talked a lot in the Twitchy episode. If he wants to go back and listen to me rant about competitive games for 30 minutes. For the Tifa podcast, I was talking with my hands, right? I was letting the art speak for me.
Yeah, and art doesn't really translate well. I mean, we could do Morse code, but he wasn't drawing in Morse code. I was there, sort of. And then our next fan mail comes from Big Daddy Nom Nom himself. He says, "Fun pod, loved the insight." So I hope I gave him good insight. I hope no one gets in trouble for me saying they were good commentators. I don't really know. And then Cinnamon, or someone who appears to be Cinnamon, says, "Daddy Dan." His words are so full of wisdom. It almost takes like reading it, 4 to 5 times to really get an inkling of what it's supposed to mean. And it's usually pretty profound. I mean, the guy means Lucas. So shout outs to Cal for listening to the podcast. I mean, it's at the end of the day, we're all EWA and we're all like doing some sort of grassroots project. It's incredible what he's been able to do. Getting VG Bootcamp involved and getting Hungrybox and everyone else to have like a watch party watching his event. And that's incredible. I'm not even sure you can call that shit grassroots anymore. I mean, at some point it was grassroots, but I think it's going to take off running from here on out. If it hasn't already. I mean, I don't really see what goes on behind the scenes there. So, all right, that's the end of that segment. We're going to move on to YouTube comment of the week. And in this week's YouTube comment of the week, we go to a video called "The Worst Defeats of MKLeo." And this is, I mean, you can already tell what kind of video this is, but most of the comments are pretty competent. And then you get this one here that says, yeah, MKLeo wins tournaments, but I just don't respect players like him that use those spammy anime characters. It's hard for me to not laugh while reading this. It just doesn't take as much talent to be as dominant as it does with the hand-to-hand comment characters like Diddy or Mario. I will say that Steve is one of the worst things happened to this franchise. Okay, so I like that. So he's indirectly bashing Byleth, who only really has Nair. If you take away Nair, Byleth isn't a character. Take away Aegis, I think that's literally just a skill issue. And who else is he bashing? Joker. I literally only have a problem with Joker back air. Everything else is fine. But he's like, it doesn't take as much talent to be as dominant with hand-to-hand characters like Diddy or Mario. If you just left the Mario part out, it'd be fine.
I can respect saying Diddy's hard to play, because the banana is a gimmick, but the character kind of needs it. Diddy without banana really doesn't have a whole lot of good options, and it's a complicated character. As far as the spammy anime thing goes, that is 100% true. I'm a Smash Bros purist. I think every character added after Donkey Kong is garbage. Donkey Kong being number 2 on the roster, so it's just Mario and Donkey Kong.
Oh, let's look at the roster then.
The other,
I think you're playing the wrong game. You need to go back to the arcade cabinet where it's just DK and Mario jumping over the barrels.
that's right. The original Donkey Kong was the first Smash Bros. That was when Donkey Kong still had a projectile.
But no, I suppose as a final touch on that comment is You can't bitch about Aegis and then say Mario's okay. Aegis doesn't win games on their own. Like, if you keep running into Pyra's side B, that's not the opponent being brain dead. That's you walking into this obvious as hell side B.
Stop holding forward on the joystick. Choose a single defensive option.
This is the kind of guy that probably bitch about Little Mac, but who knows? We're done roasting the guy. All right, I think that brings us over to our main topic. All right, guys, today's topic, icing. What is it? Is it the stuff you put on the cake? Well, I guess I'll let Jack take care of this one. Jack, what is icing in the context of a fighting game?
A valid strategy used to defeat an inferior opponent.
That's everything, though.
True.
Like choosing Aegis.
A valid strategy used to defeat an inferior opponent. I've never actually seen somebody get iced in a tournament. I've seen people like have to take a step away, but that's, you know, things happen during a match. Icing for me is a intentional effort to ruin the mental of your opponent. There's definitely something to be said for tempo and momentum in a fighting game. And if you're coming off of a really good win and you're warmed up, you're more likely to continue that trend and win the following match. I don't think there's any official regulation about icing. There might be, like, you're not allowed to just disappear for 10 minutes without some kind of explanation, but people get creative.
Oh my god, do they ever?
Being able to ice your opponent does make a noticeable difference, and if you're already coming off of a loss, it's not going to hurt you any, you know.
Yeah, just to add to that, I actually saw a relatively good definition of it. Icing is the stalling in between games as an attempt to get your opponent out of their flow state.
Yeah.
And when it's worded like that, it sounds like, well, shit, shouldn't everybody ice? You know? But there's obviously some regulations on that because all of us don't want to be up till 2 in the morning, you know, waiting for a tournament set to start because homeboy wants to tie his shoes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've only seen one person deliberately ice, and I'd say deliberate with air quotes because I can never really tell, but you can only cry wolf so many times.
Yeah.
I'm, of course, talking about Proto Banham, but before we dive into that, Jack, have you seen any icing in other competitive video games, non-Smash, or just any real competition?
Yeah. The most interesting one not maybe the most unique one that comes to mind was the Sonic Fox versus Goichi, and I think it was the 2018 or 2019 Dragon Ball Fighters at Evo, and Goichi had a really good bracket reset, came from losers, and just destroyed Sonic Fox with a really good 30. Sonic Fox decided to. Now, again, this is up for debate whether or not this was intentional or like an actual grievance he had, but he wanted a side switch. The claim was that he practiced all of his combos as player one from the left side of the screen, and being on the right side of the screen threw him off. And you're probably thinking, well, characters swap sides constantly in a game like that, so it shouldn't make that much of a difference. Your position on the left or right side of the screen changes within like 5 seconds of the game starting, which is true, but this was still the point that was brought up, and it ended up being like a 9 to 10 minute issue, and is totally if there was any flow from Goichi whatsoever, it was absolutely gone. And the results speak for themselves. Sonic Fox ended up winning the whole thing, and a lot of people basically were upset that was an intentional. They claimed it was an intentional effort to ice Goichi, and that if Sonic Fox hadn't done that, Goichi would have continued and just given him the 6-0 instead of the 3-0. And I don't know. I'm not sure if there's rules about that or if like you're allowed to swap sides in the middle of a set. That sounds like some old school arcade street rules or something. It's my turn for the left side of the Street Fighter cabinet. You know, I'm not sure what the regulation there is, but that's what happened. They switched sides, and you know, was it true that Sonic Fox was practicing with the player one inputs, and because of that side swap absolutely destroyed Goichi, or was it just Goichi's mental was ruined by 9 minutes of arguing about switching seats, and by the time the match happened, he just couldn't focus on the game anymore? Who knows? But whatever happened, he ended up losing for it, and I have not seen that sort of strategy since, as far as Icing goes.
So Summit 6, the last Summit, Tweak versus Proto Banham, was probably the funniest that I have ever watched on stream. I was actually just laughing really loud just watching this match, getting ready to begin. I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, or maybe there's a strategy to, like, when I think of icing, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to ice someone who's hot, right? Bring them down. I'm not going to ice before the set actually starts. Now I'm looking frantically over the internet trying to find, like the 5 minutes before Tweak versus Proto Banham, and it's not there. But I swear, I saw it on the stream. Tweak's there, he's ready, right? He's ready to play. Proto comes up, sits down, puts the headphones on, pulls out his notebook, flips through his notebook, takes a drink of water, right? Closes the notebook, fumbles with the notebook, takes his headphones off, walks off, comes back, drinks more water, puts the headphones on, takes them off again. And Tweak just gives him this death glare, right? Or at least towards the screen, because it's not like, you're going to see them talking to each other. And then the translator got involved somewhere and like just trying to clarify rules. And just as the game's about to start, Proto stops, takes another sip of water. And this is where I actually just lost it. I started laughing, almost dropped my phone, all that shit. He pulls out some fucking eye drops and starts putting eye drops in his eyes. This motherfucker puts eye drops in his eyes. He gets the dropper into his left eye, and then for his right eye, he just fucking misses. It hits his nose, and he's sitting there just blinking. And the camera's zooming in on him, and Twitch chat's like tearing him up, like he fucking missed his eye. And I'm just looking everywhere. I'm typing in Proto Banham eye drops, and I'm not getting anything. That was literally the best moment of Summit for me. It was just seeing Tweak not explode there, but.
Wow.
And that was before game 1. Like, the temperature is already 0. Tweak's not, he's probably not in flow state at this point because he doesn't have a flow state. Like, well, he has a flow state, but I'm just thinking, like, it's dynamic. You're going to go against Proto Banham, you're going to find your flow within that game. The game hasn't even fucking started yet. He's really going to bust out the eye drops? I'm cracking up
at that point. Proto Banham understands that maybe Tweak has a temper, and he's doing this shit to intentionally frustrate him before the match starts. This isn't icing. This is like, I'm going to destroy his mental. I'm going to make this man watch me like struggle to put in eye drops for 5 minutes, and he's going to be so fucking mad that when the match starts, he's going to suck, and it'll be in the bag. He's developing new icing tech. You got to create as many plausible excuses as you can imagine. Like, he's gonna forget to clip his fingernails for a couple of weeks, and then like in between game 2 and game 3, man, my fingernails are too long. I'm dropping these combos, guys. Hold on, I gotta clip my fingernails. Anything you can think of to give yourself a reason to ice him for like 5 minutes in between every match. Is that guy actually just that much of a goober, and it wasn't on purpose? But at a certain point, it's like you're at Summit. You couldn't have done this at any point before like 5 seconds from match start. You decided this is the perfect time to put shit in your eyes and like maybe cause yourself to be blinking a whole bunch during the match.
It was great because if it stopped there, maybe we wouldn't really have much to talk about. So after games 1 and 2, I can't remember. It was between games 3 and 4, I believe. But he didn't ice as much. He took a lot of sips of water. But after game 3, I think it's game 3. I'm not going to watch the set right now. He starts clutching at his heart, like he was having heart problems or something. And so he's sitting there clutching at it. He's taking all the sips of water, busting out his notebook, sweating, and just I need to leave real quick. That was a really intense match. And someone's like, okay, this guy cried wolf one too many times, whatever. He's not having any problems, right? And fast forward, game 4, he loses to Tweak. His heart problems are magically gone. So apparently he there's something with him having kidney stones or something like that too, but I don't really know. It's just it's entertaining for me to watch. It is probably not very fun to have your opponent do that to you. I just thought that was top tier entertainment. I come from the 2000s. It's trash TV is great, but
Trash TV is great. That's what I'm saying.
So, if you're a Tweak and you are against your locals version of a Proto Banham, what techniques would you employ to keep your mental state at peak performance?
That's interesting. I don't really have a lot of techniques for keeping my mental in a good place because I have perfect mental.
Oh,
I've never been tilted before, so I don't really have a lot of coping mechanisms for that. Probably not super helpful for anybody listening. Try playing Donkey Kong. You have fun no matter what. Even if you lose, it was still a good time.
Donkey Kong placed third at a major event not too long ago with Hikaru, so
that guy was having a blast. He was having a great time.
Yes, he was.
His opponent was afraid for their life the whole match, but he was having a great time.
Yeah, but as far as techniques to sort of keep your mental in check, I mean, for the most part, yeah, that's going to be on you, but because you have no control over what your opponent does, and they don't even have to really be icing you outside of a game to get you tilted. I mean, they could teabag, they could taunt, they could do a lot of things. So as far as the things that are under your control, I think music in general for me helps me maintain my flow state. And if you just have a playlist of all your favorite songs, maybe that'll help. I have because if you look at the higher levels of play, Leffen's admitted to listening to classical music because the crowd ends up booing him a lot for when he plays, and he's able to keep his mental intact and still keep put up the results that he's known for. So I think that's a good place to start is music or having a direct audio to the game. If you get the music counter pick, go for that. Otherwise, I mean, most of our local scene uses headphones for their own music, and it's kind of surprising how few audio cues that matter are in the game. Then again, this is coming from a non-PR'd player who doesn't spend all time playing the game, but for the most part, if you go to a local, you'll find one setup without any audio, and you're just going strictly off visuals. So why not have some music with that? So a lot of that does translate into mental, and I get it. Smash is a mental game, and doing anything within your power to defeat your opponent, there has to be some limits to that. And I remember specifically some arcades where people would not shower for a few weeks, and they would stink so bad that the people sitting next to them couldn't focus on the game because they were physically next to them, and they would lose because of that. If your opponent's doing that, I could recommend perhaps a air freshener for a necklace, nose plugs, just sort of be a mouth breather. I'm not sure how much you want to really breathe into their BO. It's generally frowned upon to go to a public event without showering, so please don't be that person.
Yeah, no, if my opponent is doing the stink strat against me, they're straight up getting fucking DQ'd. Yeah. Like don't come to a tournament like that smelling bad. At least not like on purpose. There's a threshold, right? Like if somebody stinks a little bit, that's fine. But if you're doing this as a strategy, no. Get the fuck out of here.
This is a strategy. You're talking about growing fingernails out. Just imagine growing fingernails so long that when you grab the controller, they just like sort of tickle your opponent too while you're playing the.
Oh god. Yeah. Don't give them any ideas.
All right, guys, just play the game the way it was meant to be played. Just plug your controller in and play the game. I mean,
covered in filth and with fingernails of a bag lady. That's what it says on the instruction manual for Smash Ultimate.
I mean, none of you got it because you guys weren't first in line like Jack and I were, but we were, and he was giving us massive tips. He's like, all right, first off, pick Steve. He's not out yet, but pick him.
Who? You'll know.
He's from Grand Theft Auto.
You'll know. Yeah. Give it time. My dad works for Nintendo. You'll know.
Yeah, my uncle works there too.
It's crazy.
On that, I mean, this kind of turned into a mentality and just sort of mentality topic. Suppose that means we could segue into what do we have? Yeah, keeping a good mentality while competing. I mean, we almost already talked about that with music. Do you have anything that helps you keep a good mental while competing?
I have fun no matter what. So I'm not a super high level competitive player. Obviously, I compete at locals, and I try to do better than past versions of myself have done. But I don't get beat up if I make a mistake or lose a set. Keeping good mental is different when your motivations are different. It's harder to keep good mental when it's like I compete for a living and there's a lot of money on the line. There's more to lose if you make a mistake, so it's easier to be harder on yourself. I don't have a lot on the line when I'm playing Smash Bros, so mistakes are easily shaken off, and I'm too much of a boomer to like compete at a high level, so I just there's no reason to get bad mental about it. Now, if you're somebody young who wants to get into esports on a competitive level, the situation's different. I think the music thing is a good way to at least, if not improve your mental, definitely to drown out the distraction and in some cases the ire of the crowd. But as far as your internal self-talk goes, I feel like just any sort of mantra that you would use in like a meditation setting would be equally applicable to playing competitive video games. Just something to keep yourself grounding exercises for people who are like they struggle with panic attacks or something. Even if you don't have that condition, they're still practical and helpful to keep yourself in the moment and not let your racing thoughts distract you from playing the game.
Yeah, and to tack on to that, since we're talking about Summit, let's talk about the placements. The most notable one is Spargo going 0 and 2. And he is widely considered to be the second best player in the world, but he also got the worst possible placement at Summit, tying in with Hungrybox. Now, there's a lot of different ways to interpret this information. You could say, "Oh, Spargo, that guy who's super good. Wow, he must be super washed because he got the same results as a variety streamer now, a melee player." And if you look at it like that, it's gonna feel terrible. That's it's a bad way to go about it because at the end of the day, you're not beating Spargo. I'm not beating Spargo. I mean, not in a you can't do it sort of sense, but like right now, the moment you're listening to this, play Spargo, you're probably not going to win because he still has the consistency to back up his reasoning for being brought into Summit. So in that sense, results kind of don't matter, or at least, I mean, you have your high highs, you have your low lows, but at the end of the day, he's human. He makes mistakes. Shit, I could go 0-2 in my next tournament, and I would still be considered a threat at my local, as small as it is. Um, and it's okay to be upset that you didn't get as far as you had hoped, but at the same time, like something that's already pretty stacked tournament. Those are the hardest people you could possibly fight all in one spot.
No, if you're at that tournament, you're not washed by the virtue of you being there at all. Like you showed up to the Olympics, man. That guy sucks. Really? Because it's invitation only. So why is he here if he's bad?
I just know a lot of our younger players are kind of wrapped up in the results sort of thing, and Jack lightly touched on this, but the only person you're really competing with isn't the person who smells like garbage right next to you or the person who's like tying his shoes and putting eye drops in his eyes. You're trying to get a windscreen that has your character on it. That has nothing to do with your opponent to the left or right of you. It's literally how do you compare to how you were last week or last time you were put in this specific situation. With a growth mindset, you can get so much more out of a loss than just, damn, he got that raid and beat my ass and Kazi is broken. All of a sudden, your losses can be like, yeah, I didn't get enough to get the win result, but hell, I did that really cool platform tech I've been trying to practice, and I got it off in tournaments without having to think about it. That's a massive win in my book, because if you look at it in the way that you are competing with a prior version of yourself, you can see small ways to improve, and even if it's just a 1% improvement, that is still better than you were last time. And if you can compound that over a year, all of a sudden the results just kind of take care of themselves. You're not even actively looking for the results. I mean, just to reiterate the results only mindset, you're going to burn out quicker if you're going to leave all the value you get out of the game in the results screen. That is not the way to play the game. That is not the reason you picked up the game. At least it wasn't the reason I picked up the game. I picked up Smash 64 so I could play as Pikachu. Instead of telling Pikachu what to do, I can move Pikachu around. That was my reason for picking up the game to play. So just got to remember your reason for playing and keep your healthy mentality while competing and growing, because ultimately it's not you versus them, it's you versus yourself. And wherever that places you, I mean, that's out of your control ultimately.
It's true.
So,
it's true.
Rant over. Do we have anything else to throw on top of that? Anything else you feel like talking about?
Yeah. I played at the Nocebo Effect last Monday.
Oh, how was that?
A lot of fun. I placed 4th overall, so I got into the top half. I took Swing to game 5, so I'm pretty proud of myself for that.
Excellent. Swings washed. No.
Yeah, that's right. It's like we said earlier. If you ever lose a game, you're trash. Sell your copy.
Just unplug controller.
Unplug the controller, dog. So yeah, that was fun. It was it was interesting.
So how was that?
It was fun. Griever's new place is really nice. It's got a giant mirror like covering the entire side of the wall, so it's like a casino that tricks you into thinking it's bigger than it is. He's got that effect going on in his apartment. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Good group of people. Definitely missed having you there, but it was nice because that just meant that I was going to place better.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Remember, results are the only thing that matter in Smash.
That's right. Contradictory to everything we just said. That was all cap. None of it was true. All that matters is the Ricky Bobby mindset. If you're not first,
you're last.
If you're second, you're just the first loser. You're the first loser if you get second place.
Exactly. So is the Nocebo Effect going to be like a monthly, or were you able to talk to Griever about that?
It's going to be a once per season thing. So once every 3 months, I think. Yeah, it's going to be a seasonal.
That sounds like a regional.
Yeah.
So, almost. That sounds pretty hard. That's cool.
So yeah, that'll be fun. Next one will probably be a ways off, but it was a fun time. We did round robin style, which I liked because I got a chance to fight everybody there. Compete against people that I haven't just haven't met in bracket in a long time. Got to fight Sap. His Captain Falcon is cracked. He has magnets on his feet, but that was a lot of fun. I drank a blue raspberry prime. The Logan Paul YouTube juice. That was a.
Oh.
It was pretty,
Jack.
It was pretty good. Hey man, it took Swing to game 5. All right, my gameplay was more toxic than ever. That was the solution.
Swing's underage. You can't be drinking that. It's like, here, Swing, you need some water, bro. Here.
Here's some water.
It's kind of blue and fizzy, and it tastes like shit. But I promise, it's water.
It tastes like
wow, I took you to game 5. Why are you slurring your words, Swing? Did you hear about Swing's invitational tournament called Homie Hostility?
Homie Hostility? I think I heard them mention that in passing. Swing was asking Griever for advice.
Isn't that a great name?
Yeah, it's a great name. Homie Hostility is a good one.
Yeah, thinking that we're gonna have a lot of production events here pretty soon if our people start making their own tournaments. We have between just the proposed people, we have you, me, Swing, and Graver. That's 4 TOs all under the same banner. I'm like, oh my god, we don't have enough computers for this.
We don't. We absolutely do not. But that's okay. Anson was there. He got all that stuff set up.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I guess we could talk about this a little bit. Controllers Part 2.
Controllers Part 2. All right.
Yeah, Controllers Part 2. So the reason I'm bringing up controllers again is because I spent about the first half of the day researching the different box controllers versus GameCube controllers and fobs and whatnot, right? There's a lot to unpack here because at the end of the day, when you go to a higher up tournament, like say even for Melee, if you crack open their GameCube controller, you're not going to find an OEM motherboard in there. You're probably going to find a fob. You know what I mean? So by default, that's by definition already, that is a modded controller. for enhancing, in-game abilities or in-game consistency. And so with that in mind, we go to a digital only controller, which is built for that specific purpose. There's a lot of, there's a lot of debate and a lot of internal bickering about which controllers the absolute best and which nerfs need to be imposed on box controllers to help them emulate a GameCube controller. And I'm kind of sitting here wondering, why would you want to emulate something that is flawed?
Something that people have been actively working to get away from for the better part of 15 years.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of really good arguments for the box and against the box, but I think the one I'm still trying to find a good answer to is, you go to a fighting game tournament and everyone there is on their own fight stick. They're not using a PS4 controller for the most part. If they are, they're probably gonna have hand problems later on the line. And there is no such fight stick for for Smash whatsoever, despite it being a fighting game. So we move to the box, who limits SDI. It handles up and down movement, like up and down inputs a different way. I don't exactly have the manifesto in front of me. I probably should have thought that one out. But basically, the Smash Box versus the box versus the frame one, the Smash Box can program all of its angles. So you have more consistency there. And I think that's a point of contention because some angles are just impossible for some controllers to do. Shit. What's your take on the box controllers, or what do you think about them so far?
I'm fine with them. It removes limitations preventing players with physical limitations from enjoying the game, whether that be people with like carpal tunnel or other like hand injuries that just can't grasp a controller that way and play with it. I feel like telling that person that they can't compete because GameCube Master Race is just kind of stupid.
It's not even GameCube Master Race. It's fucking FOB. You're not on OEM.
Master Race with the GameCube skin slapped on top of it, right? This shape and color is the best, and you can't use anything else, even though the brain is totally different from what Nintendo released. But yeah, no, I want people to be able to play and enjoy the game, and if the best way for them to do that is with a box, then go for it. The way the game responds to inputs is the same. So, granted, you could get a controller with like notches that some controllers might not have, and that allows them to perform things that are maybe easier than using a different controller. But that's why different controllers exist. Some people prefer to play with a pad. Some people play with only buttons, which at that point is kind of like playing with a keyboard. It's kind of an interesting way to do it. Everything is a binary option. There is no like tapering for slight movement. It's just yes or no. That's kind of interesting. But I'm down. I'm down for that. I think that people should be able to use whatever method allows them to enjoy the game the most.
As far as competition goes, I'm struggling to find any real. I don't want to say advantage, but there are some things a GameCube controller can do better than the box variants, and that's like say you play Jigglypuff, you have better control of your aerial drift. Or if you play Ness or Lucas, you have better control of their up B for recovery. And certain movements are just easier on the GameCube controller than the box. But we're not attacking the GameCube controller for, oh, that's broken and cheap. You have fun with your free Ness recoveries.
Have fun with your free Ness recoveries. Yeah.
Yeah, no one's saying that shit. I think one thing that should be brought up is the general prohibitive cost of these box controllers. I'm going to say a grand majority of people who've seen these controllers want to try them out and want to invest time into them. They just don't really speak up about it. But I guarantee if these things were selling for like $60, Cube controllers would be gone. Like they would just be used for Mario Party and a few other things.
It's definitely outside of the budget for some players, but not of the people who have an opinion on them. If you are competitive enough at this game to have an opinion on a box controller, then you are sinking money into this hobby and could make that happen if you wanted it.
It points the finger to the box being, pay to win. The people who are saying that also have a fob controller and custom buttons and all their shit, and all of a sudden their controller is about $300 to $400 when it's all said and done. So just let people play the damn game.
At the end of the day, the cost of something shouldn't really be an excuse to prohibit it from competition. Like everything about Smash Bros costs money in some regard. Like we have to be able to afford to pay our electricity bill. People in New Guinea who haven't discovered electricity yet, but we're not using that as an excuse not to host tournaments. You know, some people some people have to. There is a threshold to play this game. It is not a free hobby. You know, you have to put some money down, whether that be the cost of the game itself or the cost of the Switch or whatever else. You know, the amount of money you want to put into it is ultimately up to you to decide. And telling somebody they can't use a box because you don't want to or you can't afford it is kind of defeatist, in my opinion.
And it doesn't address the issue, because I saw that video of Music King, and he has this big table, and he's just like putting all the GameCube controllers that he's bought on there that are OEM, and just going through them, which ones are good and which ones are bad, and thinking, man, even with the investment into fob and stuff, you're still gonna have to eventually replace some of the mechanical components in there. Just like your controls, like I know the Hall effect sensors and the magnets probably prevent a lot of that, but there's still people having to invest more money after getting it all modded to begin with. As someone who's over 30, I've been using this controller for a long time. I've never considered using Z Jump, and I'm thinking, okay, I need to try Z Jump out for once so I can free my thumb up for doing other inputs. And I'm doing this, and my hands, I mean, they're getting tired, right? And I'm like, oh, this is fine. I can get used to it. And then I realized that I also have a special button set to my shoulder. And I'm thinking, okay, if I want to do a jump and then attempt to do a wave bounce special, I'm going to have to push Z and then C stick, main control stick, and then the shoulder button to get that wave bounce. And it just feels really awkward and not ergonomic. And it took me reading somebody complaining about Z jump, like, that's actually not what your hands are meant to do. And I'm like, well, damn, I can agree with that. And so for me, just having had an injury that was preventable, I'm thinking I would like to prevent further injury when enjoying this game. So I decide, yeah, I'm going to go get a box. So I made a little investment today to grab one. So any one of you Omni goers, when I do bring it up, you're free to play around with it. Just don't break it, please, because I'm going to try and get good on it. So, and one thing to clarify: the controller does not make a player. It doesn't make or break a player. There's always that threat of like, oh, he's on box and he plays Kazuya. But if he had a rolling habit on GameCube, he's sure as hell gonna have a rolling habit on box. It's not gonna change that at all. So if you weren't gonna beat them before, you surely weren't gonna beat them now. But
Adapt and overcome. If it was that much of a deciding factor, then people would have adopted it a lot quicker. The reality is that, like most things, it just comes down to personal preference. That's all it is.
and if you noticed, I didn't see any box players at Summit, so there you go. I mean, Big D with his Ice Climbers took out a box Kazuya at a tournament, so you tell me what's broken there.
Ice climbers on pads fucking broken. Band pads.
I mean, that probably would be broken.
All three of the Ices players.
At the end of the day, just let people play. I mean, if Smash is dying, we need more people to play anyway. So I don't care if they come in here with like the Resident Evil 4 chainsaw controller. I mean, if it made your character fly infinitely, sure, I'd probably ban the controller. But if it's not actually, like, if the game is interpreting your inputs in the way it's supposed to, I don't see the problem.
That literally makes no difference what the modality is, as long as the game responds the same way. Which is why the only controllers that are banned in tournaments are the Pelican controllers with the turbo button.
Yeah, turbo and macros.
Because turbo just makes your character twice as fast and twice as strong. It says so on the box.
Twice as buffered.
That's right. Twice as buffered. You're getting inputs from the last match.
Oh, okay. That's enough ranting for now. It is time for trivia.
Oh man. All right, I'm ready.
All right, there's no real structure to trivia. I just sort of asked 3 questions to my co-host here, who today is Jack the Booscooty. And I've managed to revolve all of these around Donkey Kong. So, I don't know how to say this properly. Dust off those coconuts. It's cringe shit aside. What are Donkey Kong's special moves actually called?
Oh man, Donkey Kong's special moves. I've been calling them hot slaps and donkey punch for so long.
I knew I got you there.
Let me see.
You have 4 clearly for up, normal, and all these specials. So
yeah, all the V specials. So I think the big one is supposed to be called Giant Punch. Like, right? It's not Donkey Punch. It's Giant Punch. We call it Donkey Punch.
That is correct.
I don't know what his forward B is called, but it's a headbutt. So maybe it's just called headbutt.
That's correct.
Okay. I call his up B the lariat because it reminds me of Zangief, but it's not a lariat. I think it is Kong spin, spinning Kong.
That too is correct.
There we go. Okay. I know that his smash ultimate is Jungle Rush. I remember that one.
Don't have to worry about that one. You only have the down B to worry about now.
Oh, okay. It's not hot slaps, but it definitely has the word slap in it. Dude, the hot slaps.
That shit tickles me.
It's not ground slam.
Okay.
Hot slaps. Is it like what? Just hand slap?
You're so close. Correct.
Is that
you're
it?
killing it. You got it.
Yep. Hand slap? Hell yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got Giant Punch, Headbutt, Spinning Kong, and Hand Slap. But just for future reference, since I'm able to mod my game again, you have, so for normal B, it's Donkey Punch.
Donkey Punch. Okay.
You have Giant Punch, Headbutt, Spinning Kong, and Hand Slap. Those are the correct answers. But I'm trying to jot your answers down, like what you normally call.
Oh, my answers?
Yeah, so you have Donkey Punch, and then what do you call side B?
Oh yeah. I don't know. Whenever I use that, people end up screaming about armor. So I'd probably call it like Armored Kong or something because it's the hyper armor safe move, Armored Kong.
Armored Kong. Okay, Armored Kong. And then we have down B.
Hot slaps.
Hot slaps. That shit will never not be funny to me. That is some funny shit.
Hot slaps. I love hot slaps.
I wish my character had hot slaps.
And then up B is just lariat.
Yeah, lariat. Okay, so we'll work on Armored Kong here. But those of you who are listening, comment down below what Donkey Kong's side B should be when paired up with Donkey Punch, Lariat, and Hot Slaps. We need something powerful but sexy at the same time. So if you could just comment down below, that would help us out a lot.
Maybe something to do with his hair, because the range on that move is extremely deceptive and is like this disjointed hitbox from his like Jimmy Neutron like pompadour that he's sticking out there. It's got the range of like a Ike forward smash on this Donkey Kong side B. That's the brain blast. That's the brain blast. That's
Yeah, we don't need your comments anymore. Donkey Punch, Brain Blast, Lariat, and Hot Slaps. I mean, you can't get much better than that.
That's the Donkey Kong brain blast because anybody who throws out that move in neutral is a genius.
Absolutely, especially 4 times in a row, and then getting the hit on the 4th one.
That's right. They never expect you to do it 4 or 5 times in neutral, just standing there. They think surely he'll pick a different option.
All right, we're going on to the next question. In Smash 64, Donkey Kong has a hidden 5th color. What is that 5th color, and how do you access it?
Hidden 5th color in Smash 64?
Yes.
So he had red, blue, default, and what was it? Was it green? Was it a green? I think it was a green Kong. So red, blue, green, and brown must have been his colors. There's a secret 5th color. I've never heard about this color before, so I'm not gonna know how to get it.
I'll explain it to you. So Donkey Kong's colors in 64 is brown, black, red, and blue. That should be a hint on how to get it.
Okay, so maybe I have played with it before because I remember there being a green Donkey Kong. It's unlocked just with Smash 64. Is there some kind of like peripheral you have to get that color?
Nope, there's nothing extra. You just gotta be playing 64 in team mode.
Oh, it's a team color. That's right. I forgot. This was back in the day when your colors changed based on the team you were in. They didn't have the highlight system.
Yes.
That's right. I totally forgot about that. You can. Dang, that's good trivia. I like that one.
Thank you. He's green. He's green AF. The only thing not green on him is his tie.
That explains why I remember playing with Green Donkey Kong. Must have been on a team battle.
All right, so last one for tonight. And Smash Bros. Melee and Smash Bros. Ultimate. Donkey Kong shares a voice actor with one other character. Who is that character?
In Melee and Ultimate?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I'll just go through the Melee roster. Is it the same other character in both franchises?
Yes, which is doubly hilarious.
Let's see. Is it Charles Martinet? Is it Mario? Does Mario also do Donkey Kong's voice?
It is not Chris Pratt, no.
It's not Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt did not voice Donkey Kong in Smash Bros. Melee. Is it like I'm thinking it's got to be like Captain Falcon or Yoshi, right? But those seem kind of similar. So maybe it's something extremely crazy like Samus. Samus also voiced Donkey Kong.
All right, the answer is going to surprise you.
Okay.
It is none other than Ganondorf.
Ganondorf, really?
Yes.
Huh.
Ganondorf and Donkey Kong have the same voice actor in Melee and Ultimate. It is pretty intense. I was chuckling pretty good when I read that. So, all right, guys, that wraps up for trivia. If you have any ideas for a good trivia question, perhaps post it in our Discord server. It is under a remodel right now. Currently, we're under NOS Gaming. I'll leave that in the description, but I think we're just going to straight up rebrand to Lilac City Smash because that's what we're about. And then our final fun section, we're going to be going into $5.99 a character. So what we try to do is we try to add enough value to existing cast members or maybe even DLC cast members to the point where you'd pay $6 to unlock them. Which character should we talk about today? Should we buff Steve?
Oh, yeah. Steve. $5.99 Steve. He can pause the game, but it's not cheating. He can craft items like in Smash Bros. At his bench, not just weapons. He can like make a home run hammer. You treat it like Peach, right? Sometimes Peach pulls out a bomb. Sometimes Steve crafts a bomb and you can just throw it at you.
Oh, that's actually a really good idea. Like,
yeah, but it's got to be more, like, way more likely than because Peach. I've been playing Peach for like as a side character for years, and I've seen like 2. You know, that's not for a $6 buff. You got to be getting at least 1 every game. You know, the odds of pulling an item's got to be like 1 in 50. We'll craft items, pause the game, but like he doesn't have to forfeit a stock, and that's not even like a buff to the character. That's just the community decided he gets to do that.
I mean, yeah, free Steve. Leave Steve alone.
Leave Steve alone. He gets to pause and doesn't have to forfeit a stock. Steve players are sensitive people. They need a moment. Let them pause the game.
I mean, they stayed pretty true to his character. I'm not sure if it's a buff, but maybe make his hitboxes squares, like actual boxes instead of circles.
Hit squares. Interesting.
I mean, they're already called boxes, but
It's
they're
true.
spheres.
They're already misleading in name. They're hitboxes, not hit orbs.
Yeah, at least the size of his blocks.
We'll make all of his hitboxes completely square. We'll add another skin, right? We'll add Roblox man, right? Really got to appeal to the youth, get them to start playing Smash Bros. So we're putting Roblox in Smash Bros. And every sound effect is the oof noise. That's a buff to Steve, I think. Anthony's speechless. He doesn't even know what to say to that.
Shit. I'm just thinking because Steve is look this up. I'm not talking out of my ass. Steve is a low res version of Tommy Vercetti from Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Oh.
So I was thinking one of his skins could be CJ from San Andreas, and it'd be cool if like one of his side taunts was him saying like CJ lines like "lunch money" or something like that.
Lunch money. Match starts. Oh shit! Here we go again.
Oh shit! Here we go again.
I love it.
I ain't no buster, you a buster. CJ wins.
That's right, dude. For his final smash, he recites Big Smoke's full order.
You know, since Joker uses a gun, Steve could use a gun too.
That's right. That's right. And the mine cart is now like a Coupe de Ville.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, or a Rhino.
There you go.
Yeah, get the tank in there.
That's right.
At this point, we've thrown balance out the window because Steve has already shown to be a real dominant force in the metagame. That's the joke, haha, for those who don't get it. Like, why are they buffing a DLC character?
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
not. There's literally nothing more we can do to make this character better unless we give him, like, Sephiroth's sword for his up air. So,
Make his craftable swords now have the length of Sephiroth's blade. There you go.
with the startup and leg of Mithra, that'd be wonderful.
There we go. An alteration of my previous buff. Not only does he craft items from the game, but sometimes when he crafts his sword, it just is like a different model from another character. He pulls out Ike's sword or Sephiroth's sword or something at random. Sometimes it nerfs him. Sometimes he pulls out Joker's knife, right? So that's balance.
I mean, Steve is stolen assets, so incorporating stolen assets into his moveset, I think, would be really flavorful and healthy for the metagame going forward. I actually just want to see CJ, low res CJ on Steve, and then I would actually try playing the character as long as there was like voices on there. Because if I'm picking up Steve, I'm picking it up to laugh. You know, it's not to sit there and be like, yeah, I'm gonna beat this Smash tournament and be the best in the world. I'm almost disappointed in the community. I'm not finding any mod like that on Game Banana, and people who normally tear this shit up and be like, oh yeah, that's Tommy Vercetti from Grand Theft Auto. So yes, Steve is a Grand Theft Auto rep, and I would like more Grand Theft Auto skins to go with it. And yeah, that's 1298. Steve, is that the math there? Oh man, we really made a mess of this. So realistically speaking, let's just say Sakurai just gives us a call and says, okay, it's time for you guys to handle Steve so he can be used in tournaments again. I'm going to try and talk to Microsoft. Could you guys just nerf him for me? What do we do to bring him back down to normal level? Like, what do you see in Steve that he could probably do without?
Well, the first and most obvious one is get rid of his Killer Instinct combo breaker tech.
Yeah, the PMLG is patched out. Okay, that's a basic, but there's plenty more that could go.
I don't know, it's hard. Like the character fundamentally adds so many new features to the game, it's hard to work around that. He literally gets to like change the terrain of a map. I don't know how you nerf that without making it useless. Like what do you do to his ability to create walls without making it like frivolous? Like it's approaching Steve is like a calculus question because he does things nobody else can.
I think that can stay the same, actually. I think the problem is when you approach incorrectly, you end up eating like 50 to 60 damage, depending on what kind of weapon he has. I think you could probably go the Mithra route. I'm thinking Mithra up air specifically. For Steve's up air / up tilt, where he just sort of swings the axe, right? You know how it just sort of just lightly pops you up and is part of the reason why you get up to 60? Just increase the base knockback of that and like get rid of the knockback growth, and all of a sudden you're getting popped out. You don't really need SDI or anything. You just get hit once and it doesn't really combo anything. If you get rid of that, I'm pretty sure the character more or less stays in line.
Yeah, that's true. Just make it like it's kind of like what Meta Knight was a problem for that same reason in Brawl. You just couldn't fall out of his up air. It would carry you forever. If they just change the knockback, it kind of becomes less of an issue.
Yeah, so I think that, and I'm pretty sure that's all you really need to do. Maybe just for my sanity's sake, make it so that his side B isn't a command grab. That's just for me because I get so irritated when that shit hits me. Like, I'd rather if it just hit me and I fly instead of it hit me and then all of a sudden I got to mash out of that shit. This projectile command grab is such horse shit. I hate that shit so much.
Not a fan of the minecart.
So those three things: get rid of PMLG, increase the knockback of his up tilt to where he can't combo back into himself, and make the side B just hit you, not grab you. That's what I would do to bring him down, and I think we don't really have a problem.
Yeah, that would solve a lot of it, really. Just those three changes.
All right, we have gone from making a $5.99 character a $12.99 character back down to a $0.99 plus tip character.
99 cents, Steve.
Yeah. That's going to be the end of the $5.99 segment, and we're just going to go into our closing thoughts. All right, Jack, we had one hell of a ride today. We talked about Icing. We've talked about Steve. Again, we talked about controllers. What else can we leave the audience with before we say goodbye?
I don't got a lot. I think we covered it all pretty well. Moral of the story today is I'm way better at naming moves than Nintendo.
I got a lot of value out of that, really. Jack's better at naming shit than you are.
Remember that, viewer.
Yeah,
That I'm better than you.
exactly. Today's lessons: don't shower, don't clip your nails, come into the tournament with pink eye, so you have to do the eye drops. Jack is better than you at naming everything, including your firstborn child.
Yes.
And Steve is okay, leave him alone.
Hashtag leave Steve alone. Now trending in Kansas.
In Kansas. That poor state. Oh yeah, we also need to remind our viewers that results are the only thing that matter.
That too. Yeah. GameCube is a perfect ergonomic shape for a controller. Literally designed by God to be the ultimate gaming implement, and if you use anything other than a GameCube controller, you are an animal who should be allowed to play Smash Bros. That's also an important takeaway.
Yeah, that's actually how I'm going to get myself to quit playing Smash, is by getting berated by my fellow peers for.
That's why I bought the box.
I bought my way into Smash, I'll have to buy my way out.
All right, everybody, thank you for listening.
All right, guys, appreciate it. Have a wonderful time. We will talk to you next time. We've made the world a better place.